So, hello, welcome back to the next episode of the Self-Development fucking podcast. And as you can see in the background, we will go ahead with Titan Tools from Tim Ferriss. It's still, I think, just a pretty incredible book with just a lot of knowledge, and there's definitely something in for everybody. And you might wonder why I'm so fucking pumped now. Just now. um, I've been just sending out a few requests for an internship for the summer because I have to do it because of my school. But I'm pretty grateful that I do actually have to do it because this really gives me the opportunity to just go into a lot of great companies and see what they are doing. And yeah, I do have a job interview the next week, and I'm pretty fucking pumped for it because everybody was like, you're so late and you won't get anything and so on and so on, and I still get what I want. And this is why I'm so fucking pumped right now. And what I'm not so pumped about is that it is so fucking loud. But never mind. But we will go ahead with the third. Oh my god. Okay, it's pretty fucking loud. So I will definitely put it in my face, my microphone. Well, but why is it so loud? Maybe we should definitely close more. So just close everything that's open here. And then everything should be good to go. Yeah, should be good. So we will go ahead with the third kind of chapter or third section of the book. So this book has 3 sections, practically or theoretically, and also practically actually. The first one is wealth. The second one is the first one is health. The second one is wealth, and the third one, which is the one we are going to talk about now, is wise. And what wise is, I don't know. It definitely maybe some kind of mindset thing, but we'll see. Being mentally tough, Stan, and I do have to zoom in a little bit so that you can actually see it way better, way better. Stan McChrystal, I think he is called, has retired from the US Army. He is passionate about the ability people have to develop mental toughness, and that's definitely the thing. He explains that there are 3 practices that he believes will help anyone. First, it's about pushing yourself harder than ever before to do something you didn't realize you were capable of. Secondly, get in situations with a group where you share difficulties and discomfort. Finally, establish fear and make people overcome it. Further, to make Crystal's point, Jocko Willink, which is the author, or who is the author of Extreme Ownership, which is the book that I'm theoretically just reading at the moment, which is about he being a Navy SEALs instructor, first of all, and second of all, he was in war in Afghanistan actually. He led there a few missions and a few operations, and he just basically talks about his real opportunities he had in this situation in terms of learning new things, and just what he did in the army or what he did as a Navy SEAL and in the war. So he's called Jocko Willink. He has a podcast as well. So if you're interested in ownership, leadership, and just his thoughts on different kinds of things, then I would definitely invite you to check it out. It's pretty good. I think there are also videos on YouTube as well. So he has the same thing as I'm doing. So like the YouTube video as it is, and the podcast as it is. Yeah. Further to make Crystal's points, Yoko, or I do not know how his name is pronounced correctly, but maybe it is even Jocko. I'll say Jocko because I've heard it once. I think Jocko Willink also has a message for being tougher. He explains that if you want to be tougher, then just be tougher. By making the decision and committing to being tougher, you have already started. The next decision you make needs to be a tough one. If you usually take the lift, the tough decision would be to walk up 5 flights of stairs. Be tough or just do it. Totally. Yeah. But I do just remember that I definitely should turn off any fucking disturbing things on my phone. Not that I do just have, again, some kind of music in my video and then everything gets fucked, the whole recording, which is nothing I really like. I do feel like a hat. A hat is always good to record with because, first of all, I look a little bit better, and second of all, it is much easier to cut my fucking face out in Photoshop afterwards for the thumbnail. Using pride and fear. Carolyn Paul, 4-time published author, believes that you should use your pride as a motivator. She explains that if your fear of failure can outweigh your fear of fire, then you're more likely to be destined for success. It's not about being braver than anyone else. Bravery doesn't come into it. But if you're truly afraid of the humiliation that failure can bring, then use that as your motivation to success. Carolyn explains that fear has an important role in our lives. It's designed to keep us safe. However, she believes that some people need to get a handle on the fear and bring it into line. Don't let it rule you. She encourages you to ask yourself if your fear should really be a top priority. And this is something I definitely believe in as well. So fear initially was something that just, made us live, or just kind of prevented us from doing dumb shit. Totally just, being too near to a cliff or some shit like this. Totally, because this makes sense, because, nature didn't want us to die, or God, or whomever you're believing in. But nowadays it's a little bit overwhelming, I think. It's a little bit too much fear. There is so much we fear, even though we shouldn't fear it, or there's nothing to fear about. Meeting people, or, I don't know, a lot of things. Oops, I do remember. So that the whole room is a little bit brighter. Sorry. Fear setting. Ferris explains that everyone focuses on setting and visualizing dreams and goals. But what about fears? After a period of struggle, Ferris decided to define exactly what a bad future of suffering would look like, to define his nightmare. And most of the time, people just come to the conclusion that the actual nightmare isn't that bad. I'm sorry. Do just have to not see myself, but see how long I'm recording and what's going on. So that's definitely the thing. A lot of people just think like, this is my nightmare, this is so bad and whatever. But if they just realize it and just visualize it as well, they just come to the conclusion that, okay, it's bad, but it's not that bad as I thought it would be. And especially if it then also happens, then they are like, okay, man, I think, it fucked me, but it didn't fuck me as hard as I thought it would. To embrace fear setting, you need to define the worst case scenario for any event or outcome. Understand exactly what would happen and identify all the ways that you might be affected. By defining your fears, you will find that you are actually working towards conquering these fears. By acknowledging the worst case scenario, you are more likely to be able to approach a given task, or even with confidence in knowing all possible outcomes. Ferris recommends you imagine with as much detail as possible and rate the negative outcome on a scale of 1 to 10. And consider, are they permanent or temporary? Which is something like, okay, you ask her out and the worst case scenario would be she says no. And how would it affect you? You learn from your approach maybe. You learn from the entire scenario. You just, you can either learn or you can be like, okay, it fucked me, I'm so heartbroken or whatever. So you can always just decide how you kind of feel often. I don't want to say all the time because that's not true, definitely not. But quite often you can just decide pretty much decide. Next, consider what actions you would take to correct the negative outcomes. How easy would it be to get back on track? And this actually comes in hand with what Bezos is saying all the time, that actually nowadays making fast decisions is way better than making 100% accurate decisions. And it's totally true, because nowadays everything is so fast, and making a decision that might be false or not that accurate, you can still just, change that. Yeah, it always depends on what it is, but often nowadays you can just change it and, make it good again and everything is great. But if you just, try to be 100 precise all the time, just all the time, then you really lose a lot of time. Ferris also explains that looking at the possible positive benefits and assigning them a number is beneficial. For example, if you did something that you were potentially afraid of, but if it all went well, the outcome would be a permanent solid 9 or 10, then isn't it worth doing? And when you consider the negative outcomes being a potential 3 or 4, doesn't the permanent 9 outweigh the temporary 4 or 3? And that's definitely a thing that I've read somewhere else as well. I actually, and this is a little bit of pity, do not quite remember who said it or where I've read it, but it was actually also a book summary that I've discussed on this channel and on this podcast as well, which is great, totally great. So you can definitely maybe, some person who might have just listened to this episode might come to this episode as well. And if you are such a person, please contact me, please write me a DM on Instagram or somewhere else. I would be definitely interested in what book it was. But yeah, in other words, you are risking an unlikely and temporary 3 or 4 for an probably and permanent 9 or 10. Definitely. And this makes sense. Then you just be like, yeah, okay, first of all, the first case scenario isn't that bad because it's only a 3 or 4. But the positive outcome is really, really fucking high. And therefore, I'm just, going for it. And even if I lose or if I fail, whatever, then, I will just get the 3 or 4, but I'll definitely just learn from it as well. So at the end, I think you just learn all the time. It doesn't matter what you're doing. Yeah, okay, if you die, it's maybe not that quite learning, but yeah, perfectionism. Whitney Cummings believes that striving for perfectionism can actually be paralyzing. It can prevent you from living, leads to low self-esteem and unhealthy relationships. Often the byproduct of perfectionism is actually procrastination. In the pursuit of perfection, you can't get anything done that might not turn out exactly how you want. So what's the other opinion or option? Do nothing. Don't pursue perfectionism. No one's perfect, and you shouldn't want to be as well. And that's actually a good point, even though I've just read it like a really dumb motherfucker. It's actually a pretty good point, because perfectionism is something that just lets you waste a lot of fucking time, and it plays into the hands of the thought before that you should actually be fast, rather than being just 100% accurate, because you can be just fast and accurate as well. There is a chance. If not, it's totally okay as well. But to be fast and not 100% accurate, you do not have to be a perfectionist, or you can't be a perfectionist, because this wouldn't work, because perfectionism is like making everything 100% correct and accurate and whatever, and so this wouldn't work out. And this is something that I have trained myself pretty a lot of in the last few weeks and months and so on, that I just really do put out every single post. It doesn't matter how it looks, or if it is just really good or not really good, someone will just will need it. It's often like you can just say it's some kind of being selfish if you do just not post something because you feel like, okay, it's not that good, or I don't know. Everyone will need it, or someone will just need it. So post everything, put out everything. Only because you don't like it doesn't mean that anybody out there won't like it. Yeah. Ferris tactics for dealing with haters. First of all, don't focus on how many people don't get it or don't get you. Focus on how many people do. This is actually the same thing that's, could be, what is it called? Could be applied, could be applied into or on your whole entire life. Because, you can either just focus on the good things, or you can just focus on the negative things. And, you decide, you really decide. This is the point, because if you do just really, really focus on the bad things, you will definitely get more bad things, and you will see the bad things even more because you just focus on them. But if you just focus on the good things, you will definitely just see more of the good things. Maybe not only good things, but even, yeah, you could just, see the good things only if you just focus so hard on them and so precise on them that you actually can't see anything else but the good things. The second thing is, expect that people will take things personally. 10% of people will find a way to take anything personally, and that's definitely true. I think there's no way you can say something that no one is just really personally attacked by this kind of sentence or whatever you've said. There's always a way, as they just point out, there's always a way that people just feel personally attacked or whatever. This is always the thing. The third one is, when in doubt, starve it of oxygen, ignore it. Starve it of oxygen. I don't know what he means, but ignore it. Just ignore the doubt. Do it, ignore it. Don't over apologize. This is something that I quite a little bit struggle with, because I often, especially in emails, when I write emails to companies, I do tend to be so over nice. So, very too kind, so that it really feels like, I do flatter. Very, very, I like it to flatter and like to make compliments and tell them, yeah, okay, your work was great and whatever, 100 times. And this is something I do have to remind myself on to not do it all the time, because it just also feels like for me a little bit too much sometimes. And I do feel like, okay, this might not be good as well. So, being nice is definitely a very, very good thing you can have or you can be. But being too over nice and very too nice is, I think, also something that might be a little bit complicated or might, lead to complications. The fifth one is, you can't reason someone out of something they didn't reason themselves into. I think this just means that you should not just give somebody advice who doesn't want to have advice from you. Some sort of, it's just another example maybe, but it is the same context or the same thing. And this is definitely true, because if somebody just doesn't want any tips or any advice from you, don't give them, because they will definitely feel like, yeah, okay, I don't give a fuck about what you're saying, first of all. And second of all, yeah, okay, it's just your opinion and I don't give a fuck what you are saying. And, they maybe feel like, okay, he just feels like being superior to me and he knows more than me and so on. And this could be a personal attack as well. So, yeah, if someone doesn't want, or if someone doesn't say that they want, any advice from you or any tips from you, then don't give them. Don't try to get everyone to like you. Definitely confront the people who need confronting. If you want to improve, this is something, so the sixth one, in terms of confronting people, this is actually something that I struggle with as well, because often I feel like on Instagram, yeah, I just want to say something. I want to say, okay, that's total bullshit. I think this is not true, but yeah, I often feel like, yeah, okay, I do not want to be not nice. I do want to be nice, but, actually sometimes the truth isn't just nice. You can always say it in a nice way and be like, okay, this is something I do not quite appreciate or do not think like it's true, but rather than being, yeah, like, this is total shit, motherfucker, or something like this. And yeah, totally, but this is definitely something that I always think about. Yeah, should I write this now or should I not? It's always kind of if you want to improve, be content to be thought foolish and stupid. To be thought foolish and stupid. Okay. The eighth one is, living well is the best revenge. I think revenge is something that's total bullshit, first of all. But I do feel like he just means something like, okay, just, do not really take revenge or something, but just live a well life. And this, okay. I now get it. I'm sorry. So living well is the best revenge. Just being you and just focusing on your life and making your life the best is definitely a very, very good revenge for people who are just fucked with you, or just, maybe they, do have a loan from you and they just have to pay it back sometimes, but they won't, and so on. So this is definitely a good thing, because at my point of view, revenge is something that's total bullshit. And it's totally something like I feel, yeah, why would you do it? Just be nice, okay? The other person just, used you or just took advantage of you, and just live with it. The next time you won't just let it come to this point and everything is okay and you don't have to, take any revenge. But just taking revenge like, yeah, someone hits you, then you hit back and some shit like this is, I don't know. I don't feel like this, will make anything good or better. But yeah. On happiness, the most important trick to be happy is to realize that happiness is a choice that you make and a skill that you develop. You choose to be happy and then you work at it. It's just like building muscles. And that's definitely true. It also just kind of, goes into the hand of also saying like, yeah, you can focus on the good things and you can focus on the bad things. And it is, always your choice. You can focus on what you would like to. Often, yeah, I do believe in that. It might be hard to focus on good things if really bad things just bad times just appeared and you're just in a really bad mood or whatever. Definitely, but then yeah, you can really see that it is a muscle you train, a muscle that you actually develop, a skill that you develop, because really focusing on good things if you're in a really bad mood or really bad times such as now, and somebody died or whatever. I don't hope, definitely. I don't hope. But then it's definitely a skill and something you could develop if in these certain times. Naval Ravikant, or whatever he's called, believes that 90% of the thoughts that we have are based on our fears. That only leaves 10% left for focusing on desire. Ravikant explains that desire is essentially your commitment to being unhappy until you get what you want. If you spend your day desiring things that you don't have, you're destined to be unhappy. Yeah, this makes sense. Consider this when you are considering your desires. Ravikant encourages you to select your desires carefully and only have one big desire at a time, or at any time. In order to maintain a sense of peace, if you have too many desires on one time, then unhappiness is inevitable. Happiness is wanting what you have. This actually reminds me on lyrics. I don't know the song, but it went like, it's about having what you want, not wanting what you have. No, the other way around. It's about wanting what you have and not having what you want. It was from Hendrix, I think. Yeah, it was from Hendrix, definitely. I do not know the title of the song. This is always the thing. I do just, first of all, I never know any artists, and second of all, I never know any titles of any songs. I just know how they go and the lyrics maybe, but especially the melody is something that I just, remember. But, yeah. 3 options. Whenever you are facing a new situation, there are 3 options. Firstly, you can change it. Secondly, you can accept it. And finally, you can leave it. It is important to choose one of these options and not the terrible 4th option, sitting around wishing you could change it but simply accepting it, or wishing you could leave it but changing it, etc. So definitely just choose one of these 3 things. Either you change it, or you accept it, or you leave it. Nothing else. This is where the misery lies. If you approach every situation with one of the first 3 options, you will inevitably have better outcomes, definitely. Because if you can change it and if you want to change it, then change it. If you can't change it because it's the weather or it's something that you just simply can't change, then you have to accept it. And if it is something that you could change, or I don't know, you could accept but you don't feel like it, then just leave it and let it be it, and live your life and do something else. Deloading. Ferris is a strong advocate for reloading within business, creativity, and your personal life. The concept originally comes from fitness and strength training, straight training, because I think by deloading they just mean that you should simply just take a few weeks off after several months of everyday training or just really consistent training, because this then just creates a framework for you or the opportunity for you to grow even bigger, because your body can just some kind of recover, and then it is more able to grow more than just before. I think it's just this. So the concept originally comes from fitness and straight training. It's about training really hard and then having a deload week where the volume and intensity are reduced significantly. It's about using this as downtime for the body to recover and prepare for the next period of intensity. Ferriss believes that this concept should be applied in all areas of your life. Within business, Ferriss explains that he will batch an intense period of difficult and similar tasks such as podcasting, emails, writing blogs, and accounting, and he'll then alternate this with scheduled periods of downtime where he can do whatever he wants. Deloading blocks must be scheduled and defended more strongly than your business commitments. The former can strengthen and inform the latter, but not vice versa. So the former can strengthen and inform the latter, but not vice versa. And I think it's definitely important to plan them and really be like strategic with them, because if you are like, okay, I do them like I feel, then we'll just be like doing them all the time without actually knowing that you are doing them, and just fucking your whole entire productivity, which is something you should definitely keep an eye on. But because this would definitely fuck your productivity. So make them strategic, make a plan for where you just want to have them and where you want to have them. 17 questions that changed Ferriss' life, and this is actually then the end of this episode. Never mind. 17 questions that changed Ferriss' life. The first one is, what if I did the opposite for 48 hours? Great question, which means that, maybe you're just eating McDonald's every day and, eating shit all the day, you're doing shit all the day, or being unproductive all the day. And then just change it up for 48 hours and see what it is like. I think this is a great thing. You can definitely, or you do have definitely enough time to really just, feel how it is and feel like if it is working for you or not. But it is not too much time so that you just get caught up in bad habits, maybe. It could be even just used for, I do just think about if he is actually then doing it as well, or is it just something he just thinks about. Never mind. The second one is, the first one actually. What do I spend a silly amount of money on? How might I scratch my own itch? Totally. A lot of people just spend a lot of shit money for something they actually do not need because they just want it. And often they just want it because to just impress some people they actually do not like, or to live a life they don't like. And for this to be able to do this, actually, they do just, work on a job they actually do not like. And this is a whole cycle of hell. Fucking hell. What would I do or be if I had 10 million, and what's my real TMI? Whatever a TMI is, I don't know. This is actually a question I've asked myself pretty often, quite lately. And it is actually the thing that I would say that, okay, if I had 10 million, I would definitely just do the same thing as I'm just doing right now. I would sit here, record my episodes, then do whatever shit I'm normally doing, and I would think I would not do something differently. Maybe I would definitely invest part of this 10 million, definitely, but I wouldn't, spend it on supercars or whatever, because first of all, I do not have a driver's license. But second of all, I do feel like, okay, if I have 10 million, I have 10 million, and I do not know actually what I should do with it. It's like, and besides this whole thought, I would actually do not really like to get 1 million just because of getting it. Because I feel like I do have to work for it. I do want to work for it, and I do want to achieve it myself and not, get it with lottery or some shit like this. The third one is, what are the worst things that could happen, and could I get back here? Just the same thing as we were discussing just right back then. If I could only work 2 hours per week on my business, what would I do? The fifth one is, what if I let them make decisions up to $100, $500, or $1,000? The sixth one is, what's the last or least crowded channel? This is then definitely the channel where you should be then. The seventh one is, imagine if I could pitch my product directly. The eighth one is, what if I created my own real world MBA? The ninth one is, do I need to make it back the way I lost it? Definitely not. The 10th way is, or the 10th thought is, what if I could use, or what if I could only subtract to solve problems? The 11th one is, what might I put in place to allow me to go off the grid for 4 to 8 weeks with no phone or email? Am I hunting antelope or field mice? Could it be that everything is fine and complete as it is? What would this look like if it were easy? And how can I throw money at this problem? And how can I waste money to improve the quality of my life? And the 16th one is, no hurry, no pause. The conclusion is, yeah, let's go to the conclusion. Then this will be the end of the episode, because I do have to make 4 fucking episodes today, because, the 2 for today and the 2 for tomorrow. And actually, I do have to make the posts for tomorrow. Yeah, that's fine. But I do have actually a lot to do, because today is Wednesday. On Thursday there is Valentine's Day. And I do want to hang out a little bit more with my girlfriend, not like, the rest of the time where I just sit there and record and work and, do my shit. But yeah, the key takeaways, which is something from the whole book. So, do not ask yourself, where was this in this whole episode? There was, I have been discussing this book on the last few episodes. So I just really invite you to go through the other episodes as well, so that you can actually see or just have more information on these things. Exercise regularly, top. Eat low carb, high fat. I don't know, I think not. Don't neglect your mobility. Definitely come up with a morning routine that works for you. Definitely, and I think it's great that he points out that it should work for you. And I think it should be the general thing in your whole entire life. Only because one person is doing something and, got successful through it doesn't mean that it should or is working for you sometimes. Or it is good for you in terms of, your life, your body, whatever. Let your body recover, definitely. Don't underprice your products or services. In the early days of your career, say yes to every opportunity, but once you have reached a level of success, say no to anything that doesn't bring you joy. Don't be too busy or load up your to-do list. This only leads to procrastination. Commit to achieving one main thing daily. Anything else is a bonus. Always have a plan and consider all possible outcomes. You have to work hard to find success, get comfortable asking for help, choose to be mentally tougher, make the tough decision regularly, which means this is something that I do have a really great thought to. Never ever do something that's easier, but do something that's right. Because often, the right thing is a tough thing, and the easy thing is a really just, easy thing, but it's not the right thing. Use fear as a motivator, but don't give too much power to your fears. Practice fear setting. Perfectionism is just a precursor of procrastination. You have 3 options when you face new situations, and you can change it, accept it, or leave it. Deloading is important in all areas of your life. Schedule this in and stick to it. Yeah. And the further readings would be The 4-Hour Work Week, which is also a book from Tim Ferriss. The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck, which is actually a book I've been discussing on this channel or on this podcast as well. And The Obstacle is the Way, which I have also been discussing. Guidelines, which is the book of the actual author of this article, or the summary, which is or seems to be a great book. But yeah, action steps. There is a whole lot more where this came. The book is full of valuable advice, and I've barely scratched the surface, so download the complete version on Amazon. So, and check out some of the guests on Tim Ferriss' show, because he has his own podcast, and there he just gets all the information for his books, or for this book at least, and therefore I kinda can rely on it, because often it might be like, people who write books just write books, to make money. Even if they write about making money, they will just, still make money off this book because they talk about money. Yeah. You understand? And with this being said, and I do just have made it a little bit very, very fast today, felt a little bit different today to make this episode. I'm feeling like a little bit stressed because of the episode, because I've made it. Might be because of some different things as well, I don't know. I wish you a wonderful day. I wish you a wonderful time, and I wish you success, wealth, health. I hope you give back something, and I hope you have a great legacy. And with this being said, I see you the next time.